What's up, guys? Elfis here. Doing another HoN replay analysis, this time of Dobrev playing. He'll play Wild Soul this game. He plays a Suicide Wild Soul. I'm going to go ahead and start it. Unfortunately, Taddy Jangles is not joining me this time just because I need to do it now, and he's not here at the moment. I'm not sure where he is. But I have tests this week and homework and stuff that I need to study and do and all that shenanigans, so I'm in a bit of a tighter schedule this week. Even though I had yesterday off, procrastination, it is what it is. So I'm here solo this time. We are doing Dobrev. Dobrev. I'm going to call him Dobrev, I guess. And he's going to be playing a Suicide Wild Soul. He is a 1750 player in this game, and probably even still right now. I haven't looked. Spoiler alert, the Hellborn team does win this game, not the Legion team. Despite how well actually a couple members of the team do, but a couple the other members can't really pick up the slack. So these are actually the 4 members of the team that they all pick these heroes, and then we have a Wild Soul here too. So I don't remember the Hellborn team, but I do remember the Legion team, and these are the 4 other heroes they have. So first of all, I want to just briefly mention, since we're here waiting, we can talk about team composition too. I just want to briefly mention it's kind of an odd team in the sense that if they're going to have a Suicide, which they are. So they have a Suicide Wild Soul, and then I don't know how they're going to lane it. I imagine it's going to be Parasite in the Legion team's jungle, but it could be Hellborn since they don't have jungler. He doesn't have to worry. He could either way. And then I imagine it's going to be probably Hag mid, but it could be Gauntlet mid too, and then Gauntlet and Slither, or Hag and Slither bot. But it would make more sense for me to send Gauntlet Slither together and then Hag solo mid. But we'll see. Let's see, the Hellborn team, we have a Voodoo, Berserker, Lodestone, Forsaken, Empath. I was just going down top to bottom. That's not a bad team composition. It's a bit unusual in the sense that they have, so they don't have a hard carry. They have Forsaken, who is a hard carry, don't get me wrong, she is, but she's not like a hard carry, like a Mage Bane or a Dark Lady would out carry her. But they don't have crazy early game or hard push or things like that. It's a fine team composition, don't get me wrong, it's fine. They have Berserker and Forsaken to carry, and that's okay, it's totally acceptable. It's just, usually people will go with the hard carry, or they'll go with, a hero that can do really well early game or something like that, which they don't really have, which is a bit unusual, but it's okay. We have Wild Soul going top, of course. He picked, somebody gave him a rune. Looks like he decided he wanted items. Probably a good choice. Are we going to get items here, Wild Soul, buddy? Yeah, I imagine we will. We'll talk about it in a sec. Okay. Gauntlet, yeah, Hag mid, just like I thought they would, and then Gauntlet, Slither bottom. Let's see. Okay, we got Shield, perfect, some regen, and minor totems. I love it. When, every now and then, you can let the bear go in front, by the way. Bit of miss micro, but it's really not a big deal either way. So he needs to get up there to ward the pull, especially when you're suiciding. It's really in there. He does let the bear go in front. The bear is faster than the hero pretty much forever, I guess, unless maybe you get completed boots on the hero and the bear doesn't have them. Then it might be, but I'm not sure. So if you're playing Suicide, you need to ward the pull almost at all costs. I very much so like how he's using the bear to scout it out so he doesn't put his hero at a lot of risk. Very good job there. Did Slither pick up a ward too? Yes, he did. He actually probably bought the ward that you have as well. I didn't get to check, but that's fine. I'm just going to assume he bought them both based off of... actually, you know what? Yeah, maybe Hag bought one. Hag's... No, because she has 250 saved up. Sorry. So Hag did not buy one then. Alright, so it must have been Slither. Let's see, we're coming back down. We're leaving the bear up there. You can leave the bear up to check if you want. I don't really think there's really any need. You can probably speculate fairly easily how the lanes are going to be. Ironically, they're actually tri-laning, so if you were to speculate, you would probably speculate incorrectly, because this is a very odd tri-lane. It looks like they're tri-laning, I'm guessing. It's extremely odd considering you have Lodestone and Berserker with Hatchet Shield. That makes absolutely no sense. As soon as you see all 3 bottom, right here, you're taking way too long. Go up. Go get experience, farm, all that kind of shenanigans. Oh, you're pulling the lane. Okay, I'm sorry, my mistake. I didn't notice that at first. I thought your bear was fooling around. That's totally fine. You can actually pull the lane phenomenally. A lot of Wild Souls will do that. I love that you're doing that. It's totally fine. And you pulled it to the right spot too. Very good job. A lot of the time when you see people pull it, they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. The creeps aren't here," and then they just pull it all the way to the tower and it fucks up. I think you just missed that last hit, by the way. Yeah, you did. Kind of unfortunate, but not a big deal. But like I was saying, sorry for not being on topic about you, Wild Soul. This is a very odd tri lane. Not because they don't have enough stuns. They have a decent amount. Usually tri lanes, you have to have 2 to 3 stuns to make it work, because then you're going to use those stuns to get a lot of kills. They have an okay number of stuns, but you don't ever try lane with 2 heroes like that will, you know, be fighting for farm. And actually, gauntlets, he could have grappled a little bit earlier if he was going to do that, but it's not a big deal, I guess. Let's see, very nice job. I like that you're taking the skeleton gold too. It's only 5 gold, I think, but still, it's worth it. Another thing to know, if you're a Forsaken player, don't use the skeletons for the first couple levels, because you're literally just giving the enemy free farm, really. Like, it's free gold. Like, they really, you don't need them to last hit or anything like that. It's not necessary. And against a competent player, I mean, I guess maybe against a Wild Soul you could use it to last hit. I will say that the Wild Soul is a tough hero to last hit against, because it's like 2 heroes fighting, you know what I mean? So that's one thing. The other thing is you can use the skeletons to help kill the bear quicker. The bear has a long cooldown. I think it's 2 minutes approximately. Yeah, 2 minutes. Okay, 2-minute cooldown, and it also does a fair chunk of damage too. But really, it's the cooldown that's the really big, you know, the big thing. Especially if you're suicide, you can just go buy a health potion, so the damage isn't really super crazy. She's going back here to do, I have no idea. I guess she's going to go farm the yellow camp. Totally unnecessary by you, Forsaken, so I'm not entirely sure. Did we disconnect? Is that what happened? Why are we just walking back? I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm guessing she disconnected. Did we disconnect? Timed out. There we go. Okay, that's what I was expecting. So there was no reason to walk back. Using the bear to go to the outpost. Very well played. Okay, so I've only noticed some minor mistakes from you at the start. First of all, you can use the bear to, if you micro correctly, and I guess it's not really a mistake, you know, it's really more of like an extra benefit that you could use the hero for. If you micro correctly, you can use the bear to harass the hero out of farm range and experience range, and you can use the hero to last hit if you're correct with it, you know, if you're really good at it. And a lot of the time that's what you will see players of really top tier, you know, 2000 MMR players do. They'll micro the bear to fight the hero, to get the hero out of the way, and then they'll last hit with the hero, with their hero. And it's a very useful skill. It's a very difficult skill to master. So I by no means am saying you're not a good player because you can't do that, you know, effectively or anything like that. It's very hard to pay attention to 2 positions at once, 2 things at once, especially when you have to actually, like, you know, minusculely, you know, you have to control the details of the hero and the bear both, or you're not going to be getting last hits, or you're not going to be harassing correctly, or you're going to be, you know, getting your bear killed stupidly. And if you can't do it, if you can't micro all that well, I would recommend practicing against bots, not against players, because they'll just kill your bear if you can't do it correctly. It won't work out anywhere near as well as you would like. Let's see, we're at 3 minutes, 11 creep kills so far. What's Forsaken at? 10. Okay. You should probably be slightly ahead of Forsaken. Don't miss that, please. Okay, so we're missing a couple here and there, kind of unnecessarily. That's the second one I've noticed that you've missed for basically no reason. You're a carry, so the last one you missed because you were busy denying. A deny is never worth more than a last hit to any hero, really, but especially to a carry. That was kind of an unnecessary little thing to do. I guess even if she had rooted your bear, it wouldn't really have made a huge difference. But that's fine. I guess it's not a huge deal. It's not like it costs you anything. Just a little bit odd. But so yeah, so you can actually, you know, you can even bait out her skills and stuff on the bear if you want to, you know, use up some of her mana. You know, she's got full mana. She's probably waiting to hit you as opposed to the bear. But I mean, you know, so like I was saying though, last hit is always more valuable than a deny. I'm not going to go too in depth on that. You're 1750, so I imagine you are aware that gold is worth more than denying them the, you know, whatever it is, 30 experience or something like that. So just something to think about. There we go. We're attempting to use the bear to harass her. Very nice job. That's what I was trying to tell you. That's what, and you missed that one again. So that's 3, and that was actually catapult, so I would really count that as like a double. There's a 4th one. I mean, that's so far, that's your biggest mistake, is that you're missing last hits that you really shouldn't be missing. Again, very nice job. I know it's difficult to try and last hit as well as, and another one missed, as well as harass with the hero. It's very difficult indeed. So I have no, you know, I'm not saying you're a bad player by any means. The other thing is, again, like, you can feel totally free to bait out those skills, because if she kills the bear, fine, who cares? You have all this regen that you bought that you're not using. So you can sell the regen, you know, and get half its cost back, but, I mean, it's better to just, you know, force her to have no mana, and then you guys could potentially get a kill, or at the very least, if their mid came to gank, you wouldn't die. So that's another thing. Let's see, we'll check on skill leveling very briefly. So it's a little bit up for debate. Some people, depending on how you want to use it. So first of all, if you're going up to level 3 in the bear, usually people stop at level 2, unless if you're going up to level 3, that would imply you're going to want to be pushing relatively early. You haven't been pushing so far. That's not to say that you're not going to, just that you haven't yet. So level 3 in the bear, the only reason to get it level 3 really, some people will say that the health, the benefit, the health, and I think it might increase the regen a bit. Make sure you're paying attention down here. This ward, oh, he's invis. Okay. I don't remember if he picked it up top or bottom, but it looks like we are going to die here, probably. We don't have bear form. I'd say, yeah, it's all, okay, yeah, you're definitely dead. All right. There wasn't really much you could do. I'm actually just going to jump back briefly just to see if he picked up that rune top or bottom. He still has... Does he have it bottled? Yeah, he does. Okay, let's back up again, see where he... And then I'll skip ahead. So sorry. Okay, so he got it top. You guys don't have a rune ward top. It's unfortunate. That's too far back. Okay. We're just about there again. Alright, so we died. We came back up. That's fine. It happens. Your team didn't buy the wards that you needed. The other thing is you could have bought the wards, to be honest with you. It's not totally unreasonable to expect, especially if you're getting good farm up here, which you are. It's not totally unreasonable to expect you to, put 100 gold up for a ward, but it's okay. I mean, really, somebody should have had that warded in the long lane. You always want to have a ward at the rune to see, A, if they're coming, but B, what the rune is, because things like that happen. People get good runes and then top lane's just fucked and they can't do anything. So somebody should have had that warded. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We'll, work, do our best and move on. I don't think it was necessarily your fault, but somebody should have had that warded. Nice job last hitting under the tower. It is a difficult thing, so that's very good played. You could have gotten that if you and the bear attacked, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'd be willing to bet that you probably could have. Just missing a couple, but it is under the tower, so I'll give you a little bit of sympathy there. So far, your biggest mistake, though, is just not last hitting. The other thing is if mid is mid, I guess these two are missing, so maybe that would be why you went in bear form. I was going to say there's no reason to be in bear form unless you're, team fighting or know you're going to be ganked, because literally there's no benefit to bear form unless you're taking damage, and your bear should be tanking all the farm damage and stuff like that. So, yeah, so you even transform back. The bear form makes you so much slower that you can't farm as well. So, I mean, maybe if you had to tank like triple stacked ancients or if you're in team fighting, of course, bear form is fine. But just for moving around and farming, things like that, it makes no sense, really. I guess, you get that little E, you can use was it 8 armor or something like that it gives you, I believe. But, it's not a huge deal. So we're going for phase boots on the bear. Okay. I don't think that's necessary. I don't see a huge problem with it, especially because a lot of people put so much emphasis on the bear. They'll literally essentially, scrap the hero and say, okay, well, the bear's going to be doing all my damage. I'm not sure why the bear's here. Good choice. Also, I'm not sure if you were paying attention. I imagine you were because you're 1750, but nice job killing these before the 37 mark for the seconds. 37 is when it will block the spawn for the next minute, so nice job there. Few missed last hits. The other thing is you can use the bear to pull the creeps up next time. If you don't want to go to the ancients, you could use the bear to go in and pull the creeps like you did at the beginning. It's totally fine if the bear dies. Don't worry. Respawn the bear. Eat rune. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. See? And you bait out. Oh, now she doesn't have any mana. She can't do anything now, so that's totally fine. You're well within your rights to do that. I'm not sure if I imagine mid just called missing, and so we're backing up. That's a good idea. The other thing is you're actually a level ahead of their mid, which is very good. You're on par with your Forsaken, but it's very good that you're a level ahead. Again, we're in bear form, just kind of sitting here. If we're on the tower, it's unlikely. I mean, they had haste rune, so I'm not going to say it's impossible that they wouldn't dive you, but I mean, I don't know. Parasite has a TP. If you guys coordinate it well, anyways. They dive you, and you guys get a double tap, maybe for your life, maybe not if you play it correctly. Let's see, Parasite killing. Yeah, he should be able to get him. I don't think Pink is going to get here in time. Okay, and we could actually kill Pink. Oh no, we don't have any mana, Parasite. Parasite, you should just leave. Oh, okay, all right, no, very nice job. He had the chalice up. Good job. I didn't notice the chalice was. I didn't notice he even got a chalice, actually, to be honest with you. I wasn't paying attention to his items, but nice job, Parasite. Good use of the chalice and all that. I imagine it was on cooldown, and that's why you didn't use it just a few seconds earlier to potentially save Hag, but it's okay. Okay, so briefly, I just want to note that Hag is actually losing mid a bit. a fair amount. You know, she's not ganking anywhere near as effectively as the Voodoo is. She's missed at least a couple runes, which there's no reason you should lose runes as Hag to Voodoo. You have a Blink. There's absolutely no reason that you should be losing runes to him. The other thing is, I'm not sure if Forsaken knows this, by the way, but she has her freaking ring on. Nice, very kind of a lucky proc. No reason to do that. Again, if you were in your wild form, you wouldn't have had to be that close. And you guys probably would have killed her because you wouldn't have been rooted. It looks like you're probably still going to get her, would be my guess. No, okay. Alright, so we're not going to get her. I don't believe the... No, it's not going to kill her. Okay. I'm not sure if you actually would have gotten her if you weren't in bear form or not, but I think it was a mistake to be in bear form for that. You had to come in close, you let her get both of you in the root, you and the bear, of course, is who I'm referring to, as opposed to making a choice. So I think that you were probably in the wrong there, but I mean, it's not, you know, I can definitely see the reasoning behind it, so I'm not going to, you know, hold it against you too much. We have completed boots on the bear. Make sure you're using them if you're going to get them. There's the only reason to get the phase boots, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, the damage is nice too, but really the phase boots, you would get them so that you don't get creep blocked or things like that, and the bear can get off some nice procs. That's really the point for them, at least in my mind. I guess the damage is helpful when you're pushing towers and things like that, and even when you're just attacking heroes, it's a beneficial, you know, amount too. What is it, 24, I believe? Right, 24? Yeah. 24. So it's not like totally wrong. We're using our boots. Nice job. I think that a lot of the reason why people get those boots on the bear is because the bear is faster than the human, than the hero. So they don't want the hero creep blocking or body blocking the bear. So they get the boots so that they can get around the hero without having to be phenomenal at micro or things like that. It's not totally weird. I definitely see some logic in it. This would be one of those cases. See, we have high, you know, fairly high stacked ancients, and it's totally fine if you just let the bear die. And did we use our... Okay, so we didn't... it actually gives you a bit of damage, too. I actually forgot about that, his ability. But this would be one of the cases you could pop into your ult form and tank these for the bear if you needed to. I mean, the bear is doing fine, too, especially since you respawned and things like that. But, you know, that you can do that. The other thing is, if you want to, instead of selling the potion back, you can, I mean, I don't think you're going to end up using the potion. You can use it on the bear. If the bear gets low, like half health or whatever, after you kill these, obviously, you can go use it on the bear, regen the bear up, just so you don't have to worry about the bear dying, because once it's on cooldown, it is on cooldown for a fair amount of time. So normally I wouldn't say just, you know, use the health potion on the bear, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But if it's on cooldown, you don't want that bear to die. You really do not want that bear to die. Please don't leave that alive. Okay, alright. I wasn't sure if the entangle was going to be enough or not, so that's fine. Again, well, no, you know what? Actually, because you saw them up here, that's totally fine for you to go into bear form when you're walking in. The other thing you could do is just use the bear to walk up here and scout it out, or walk over here and scout it out, you know. It's totally fine to do that, too. Whichever way you choose, I guess. I just really don't like using bear form unless I'm in team fights because of that. It gives you so much negative move speed. Does it actually say here how much it is? I'm trying to figure out. No, because he's in bear form, so it's not going to tell me. Gotcha. Okay, so... I just don't like using it. Also, I think the range is like 2,000 for the bear. For how much is it going to tell me that either? Probably not, right? If I recall correctly, I thought the range was cannot attack a boo-boo. No, oh, it's just about 1,000. Okay, sorry. So that's fine then. This is about the right distance. I was going to say if it's 2,000, you can be a bit further back, you know, and let the bear farm. But okay, 1,000. That's fine. Alright, so we have 1,000, hiding in trees, perfect. I love it, using the bear to last hit. I love all of this. This is flawless. The other thing is you guys definitely need a bit more warding. I know Slither seems to be, you know, not having the best time on bottom. That's fine. They tri-lane, so it was kind of expected. Even though it was a very, very stupid tri-lane. Really weird. This girl is dead. Yeah. Super dead. Okay, but you know, you guys need more wards, and if that means that, you know, Parasite needs to help a bit, or, you know, Hag, since she's not doing the best either, she could pop down and, you know, support a bit, since it doesn't look like she's going to be carrying anytime soon. That's fine. Somebody else needs to, you know, you need wards up though. This one ward, which by the way is about to run out, and Slither doesn't have any new ones. This is not enough. You on top lane definitely need one. I'd probably put it here at this point since you've lost the tower, just so you can definitely see if people are walking over it this way. You know, as opposed to like putting it here, or maybe like somewhere up here or something like that. But, you know, somebody needs to get wards. I wouldn't like to see a Wild Soul doing it, because it appears as though you're going for that mock. I actually, you know, it's not going to be a terrible time mocked by any means. Again, we're walking around in bear form. It's just kind of a waste of time. But Maybe that's just me, I guess. I don't know. If you see some logic in it, then feel free to explain it to me. But I guess you're afraid of being ganked. That's the reasoning, I assume, because you guys don't have a lot of wards, so I can see it. I see it, but I mean, if you think about it, in my opinion, anyways, the time you're wasting by doing nothing is I mean, it's not necessarily worse than being ganked, but I mean, you need to be doing something, and just kind of walking back and forth and all this isn't really it. Also, these guys do not need to be up here. This is not your fault. This is kind of your team. Very, very, very poor coordination. They didn't static farm that in the slightest bit. They just went ahead and pushed it. So that's very stupid. Sorry about that. I had something in my throat. The other thing is... I apologize. Feels like I have a rock in my throat or something. The other thing is they have this warded. You obviously wouldn't know that because your support isn't really supporting all that well. Another thing is Slither is not really the best support. Maybe I'm the only one that's thinking that. Maybe you guys talked about it when you were picking teams. I don't know. I don't really like Slither as a support. I like him more as like a kind of a dot, nuker in a sense, like a kind of a semi carry or like a soft carry, who blasts his, he blows up, shoots his bomb off and then gets the fuck out. Or dies. If he dies, that's okay too. He's done what he needs to do. These two need to be very careful. The way Berserker was kind of walking should make them a bit suspicious. And the fact that there's two of them missing now. Okay, yeah, he's dead now probably. The Curse Ground's gonna kill him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very nice deny by Slither though, I will say. Nice job. Let's see, we're farming up here some more. 2,800 now. We're getting close to that mock. And now we have a ward up here, so we can be a bit more safe. I like the ward placement. It's fine there. Considering how far the lane's pushed up, it's totally fine. Let's see. We're getting very close. So I will say, back to your leveling. Again, you leveled the bear to 3, and you literally have done almost 0 damage to this tower. I think you haven't done any. I think the creeps did some. There is no reason, in my opinion. Some people will argue that the health and stuff is worth it. I would say absolutely not. I mean, these other two skills are so much better than just giving your bear that extra health. Not to mention that this skill actually does, grant the bear some health. So, very nice job. We're pushing towers now. That's totally fine. I like the port so that your bear didn't get rooted. Totally fine. It really wouldn't have mattered even if your bear did get rooted. If it dies, it dies. Very nice job using that to scout. Very nice job using the bear so far. I mean, you're 750, so I imagine that you have some micro skills. I imagine that you have, this isn't, your first rodeo. I haven't looked at how many games you played, but I do imagine that they're countering. Their support's doing a much better job at, the ward situation. So you're doing a very good job, considering the fact that, I mean, you are 1750, so I would kind of assume that you do know these things. Some of them, at least. Bear's gonna die, totally fine. Respawn the bear, I love it. You have the same thought process I have. Use the bear, it dies, totally fine. You do need to be, I mean, you don't know this is here, but you need to be a bit careful if you die and the bear gets killed and then, you're respawn and you still have 40 seconds or whatever on the bear cooldown or something like that. I think it might even be longer than that, actually. Actually, it would probably, if it died right as you use the cooldown or whatever, but then that's kind of a big deal, so you just need to be a bit careful there. I really like how Forsaken's pushing this lane up for you. She's so generous. What a good friend. That's usually not something you want to do unless you're going to push the lane. I mean, I guess, or push other lanes. If you're going to push other lanes, that's acceptable too. You're at your tower, so really hiding here isn't that much more beneficial than not, being here, like, what I'm trying to say? It's okay, especially if you're in bear form, it's okay, when the creeps are here to go attack them. If they were to dive, your team should have reaction time enough and awareness enough to pay attention to that, so it's okay. This is a bit different story. It's totally fine to be, I would actually even I think if you put the hero like behind this tree here, it would be okay too. Maybe not, I'm not sure. So we have our Sword of the High. It was timed at approximately, I'm going to say approximately 18 and 3/4 of a minute. 1845, something like that. So that's an okay time. Sword of the High. We're gonna have our mock. Probably, I would expect something like 21, 22, maybe. That's totally fine. These are both fakes. This fake's blocking your ancients, which is kind of unfortunate. We don't have any sight to see that a fake walked in here, or even if you had assumed it was the real one, we don't have any sight to see that it walked in here. So now these are just going to be blocked until somebody comes over and kills it or the timer runs out, which is very unfortunate, actually. Again, I start farming. Let's see, what are we at for gold? 900, yeah. So we're going to have the mock just about 21, I think, give or take. What are we sitting at GPM, by the way? 317. Okay, Forsaken's kind of putting you to shame. She's kind of raping that jungle. I imagine her supports are stacking them for her and things like that. Maybe they aren't, I'm not sure. But, or she's stacking them. Somebody's probably stacking them would be my guess. I'm not 100% sure. But, so we see Forsaken, we should back off. She has a 20-minute Frostburn, Energizer, so we're not going to kill her. Unless we get, some crazy lucky procs. That would be some pretty luck, but, And there's no reason to really fight her. What I will say is you can let the bear get some last hits. This is really no reason. She's going to do so much damage to the bear that it's not worth the fight. Like, I mean, okay, we get a lucky proc. She used her Energizer too early, but it's fine, I guess. Yeah, she could turn around and kill that bear if she wanted to, and then probably kill you too, even if you respawn the bear. I think maybe not kill you. Actually, you know what? I would say she probably couldn't kill you, but she could definitely, do a number on you. She has her ultimate up. The cooldown's pretty low, and it does a fair amount of damage, so it's just something to think about. She was kind of unintelligent in the sense. I think she didn't realize how strong she was at that point. The other thing is the mock, you really want to get it ASAP. So we're sitting at 1500 now. We're trying to micro the bear as opposed to get the courier sent over here too. No courier still, no courier still, no courier still. I mean, it's not a huge deal. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, every second we don't have that mock is a second that we're not farming the highest potential that we should be. You know what I mean? The two main reasons for the mock on Wild Soul is that it helps you farm crazy good, because Wild Soul can't really farm all that well, to be honest with you. He doesn't have any AoE farm. The only real skill he has that does damage is the Entangle. I mean, the Wild is helpful too, but things like that. And, then on top of that, the hero damage is really nice too. Let's see, we're getting counter wards. Is that what these are? Okay. I believe this is probably out of range of this, I think. If it's not, it's just on the fence. You might be able to just barely see it. I'm not sure. And seeing as how nobody's walking over here, I imagine that, no, we can't see it. But I could be wrong. Who knows? Okay, we're walking over the Ancients. Totally fine. What did we just... Oh, your bear... Okay, there it is. Alright, might be. I, lost sight of the bear. I was going crazy. Okay, so we got the mock on the bear, of course. Perfect. Totally fine. By now, you do get them at some point, but by now... We should probably have vestments coming up. We probably should have. I may have even no. You know what? Because you weren't dying, it's okay. Because you're not dying, you weren't really dying. You died once. You didn't really take a whole lot of damage, or anything like that. So it's fine. In a normal case, I would say you probably should have had vestments by now. Oops, my mistake. But it's okay. You weren't dying. You weren't really getting ganked. You were playing very passive. Very good job on your part. So it's okay to delay the vestments to get an earlier mock. It's fine. But I do hope we get vestments next on the hero, of course. Okay, Striders, totally fine. A lot of people love Striders on Wild Soul. I actually don't see the necessity. I think we just leave them on red boots, and then you can go ahead and upgrade them to Striders at some point, but I don't think it's necessary to have it at the beginning. Also, bit of a delay reaction there on your part. Not a huge deal, just, a bit of a delayed reaction. And the other thing is you don't have to send the hero in if you don't want. If you're a bit skeptical on it, fine, send the bear in. The bear dies, bear takes damage, whatever. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if the bear takes damage. As long as it's off cooldown or, or as long as it doesn't die, either or, nobody cares. If we can get a lucky proc, conveniently procced. It's not going to be enough. This is the one problem I find with putting everything on the bear is that then the hero is kind of just like, he's just moving. He just kind of moves. He doesn't really do anything, which isn't. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that the hero is the one that if he dies is a big deal. So that's my problem. I do see. Don't get me wrong. I see the logic, and I totally am understanding as to why people do put everything on the bear and things like that. But I don't know. It always kind of feels weird to me doing it. Let's see. We got our ring turned on, Slither. Thank you very much. No, yes we do. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to start doing some pushing of the towers. Good, because we've had this bear level 3 for a very long time and have only pushed 1 tower so far. So since we're getting to that, I'll just talk about it now. There's no reason, in my opinion, I know I started it earlier and I kind of got sidetracked, sorry. There's no reason to level the bear past 2 until you're going to start pushing or until you have the other skills leveled up. So I think especially natural attunement, but also wild are more beneficial than the bear level up. The other thing I want to talk about is that when it comes to your leveling is a lot of the times you'll see people skip the ultimate until later on. You weren't really team fighting or anything for the first, up till now. You haven't really started to get involved with a team, which is fine. You can not start fighting, with the team until you have your mock. I'm not sure where that bear was, by the way. I imagine it was farming one of the neutrals or, at well or something. they're doing a really nice job of warding up your areas and stuff. So it's unfortunate that we don't have a bit more gold on our supports to counter more, but it is what it is, I guess. So it's fine if you don't want to start fighting until you get your Mach. It's okay, because, you know, the hero can't really do much. Unless you can get off a couple lucky ganks or something like that with some lucky procs, the hero can't really do much early on without it. So I'm fine with that. But what I will say is I don't think getting the ultimate levels are really super necessary. I think you're better off getting the, especially natural attunement, but also wild, just so you can farm the Mach a bit sooner, you know what I'm saying? It is slightly up for debate, and I definitely see the logic in getting your ultimate form, you know, so you're not dying, things like that. Again, we sent the bear back, I believe that's what we just did. Yeah, okay, it's totally fine to regen the bear while you're walking in between camp and camp. I think you passed a camp at the stack time. Maybe, I think it was maybe this one you passed, and this one was, you know, dead already, so that would be fine as to why you didn't stack it. But just me thinking out loud, I guess. We did get vestments, perfect. We can sell that potion now, or use it on the bear next time, or something like that. I mean, we don't need the potion anymore. Granted, it's only 50 gold, I will say, but it's an item slot. You sold a totem to get this mystic vestments, I believe. Totem is more beneficial to us than the health potion. I will go ahead and tell you that it's not very much more beneficial, but it is more beneficial. I really love how you're split pushing this while they're down here. Unfortunately, you guys don't have a ward here, so you can't really see that all of them are down here. But if you could, you would kill this tower by, you know, with the hero as well. You're more than welcome to keep going. If they're not going to come defend, keep pushing. I love it. You're thinking like just like me. I love you right now. No homo. If they're not coming to defend, keep going. You can push faster than all of them can. Wild Soul is phenomenal at pushing, especially once he gets his Mach. We can't be getting kills. We can't be getting like our team raped like this. So we've lost 2 for 1. I'm not saying it's your fault. The team should not have fought at all. And now you don't stand a chance at defending, so yes, keep pushing. But, I mean, before, you can go up. You see all 4 of them. They cannot possibly sneak up on you without porting, so use the hero. Any extra damage is awesome. Keep going. They sent Berserker back. You should have a TP and just instantly TP back to defend this. If they're going to defend, you're going to defend. If without Berserker, now they're down a person, there's no way they should get these racks for free. We did port back. I would have just ported directly into the fight. There's no reason. I mean, the bear was kind of low, but even if the bear dies, fine, the bear dies. No big deal. Respawn the bear. Totally okay. Let her go. Good job. You're not going to catch her. Very nice job. I love it. You're very good thinking. I will say I would have just ported right into the fight, but it's totally fine either way. Even if you port to the well, just so they don't run away right away, so you can maybe secure a kill. If that was your thought, that's fine, I guess. I didn't notice if you used your battle cry or not. You need to make sure you're using this. This is actually a really nice skill. Oh, it was for 8 seconds. That's where the 8 was. But this is a really nice skill. That's my favorite part about bear form, really, is that you get this skill. And, you know, it's fairly low mana cost, and it's a fairly short cooldown as well. I mean, you know, considering when you're taking into account that it is like an ultimate ability, really, kind of. So it's part of an ultimate ability, I guess. Let's see, we're at 38. I think you killed them past the timer just to block that for the next minute. Kind of unfortunate. You have the Mach, you could leash them out. I don't know. It's not a huge deal, just something to think about. We're going to stack this. Very nice job. Do we have a rune up somewhere? No. Okay. We're getting some wards up. Very good job there. From all this gold, you just got him with the tower. He's not going to be able... I feel bad. He was trying to stack that. That's unfortunate. Nice job. So you killed... oh, no, you didn't get this tower. Sorry. So you got 2 towers. Okay. 2 towers for 2 towers. That's a fairly good trade when you take into account that you probably weren't going to be able to defend it. Well, you probably weren't going to be able to defend this one. This tower at all. You might have been able to defend this had you ported back and it had been a 5v5. I think you might have been able to do it. What I will say, though, is when the enemy team has an advantage, trading equivalent amounts is good for the team that's behind, because percentage-wise, it affects you more. I know you may understand that. I'm going to just briefly explain what that means to the people who don't get it. So, like, if I have 100 gold and you have 500 gold, if then we both get 100 gold more, I increased my gold by 100%. I have 200% as much gold as I did. You only increased your gold by 20%, because you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't affect you as much. But it affects the person who's lower by quite a bit. So so it's a very big benefit for you guys. This really, I believe they countered it, actually. I think they might have countered. Did they counter it? Did they have an eye? No, they didn't. They didn't have an eye, so I guess they didn't counter it. We cannot give them a free Kongor. That is not acceptable at this point in the game. To get that 2 times Forsaken, not acceptable. Also not acceptable to be focusing Lodestone, really. He hadn't used his ultimate yet. Now he used it. Now we definitely shouldn't be focusing him. You probably shouldn't be focusing Berserker either. I realize it's a bit difficult to, walk in. You just sat there, took a full... Like this, you don't want to pick fights. And I'm not saying it's necessarily your fault. Just in general, the team should make decisions that, you don't want to pick fights when you're setting up for the enemy team to do phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't pick a fight against a Tempest with all 5 of you grouped right here, right? That wouldn't make any sense, you know what I'm saying? So maybe don't pick a fight against a Forsaken when they have such an amazing choke point right here between this one and this one for her ultimate. That's literally as perfect as you could get. Her ultimate will hit probably almost the entire bit, maybe a little bit on one side you could sneak by, but yeah, like, see, this is what Lodestone is saying it now, too. Like, I'm saying, like, did you buy back, by the way? Is that what just happened? Or did you actually respawn? I'm not sure. Your death timer wouldn't be that long. Again, we're focusing the wrong person. It's okay to focus him, but, I mean, that's not the person you want to focus. She was definitely within range this time. Last time I was a bit more accepting because of the fact that she was further away and it wouldn't have been as easy for you to jump up and just go kill her, but this time she should have been the go-to target. If you can't kill her, make her leave. Get her out of position. If she can't kill your teammates, then that's fine. Either way, you're stopping her from doing her job. Again, focusing Berserker isn't necessarily wrong because he is a carry as well. I will say he puts out quite a fair amount of damage himself. Just that for him to die is going to take a lot more than for Forsaken to die, especially since Berserker has a Shrunken as well. But, I mean, there's a bit of a leeway. I understand that, maybe you're like, I'm not going to catch her. You know what I'm saying? She has an Energizer. You may not catch her is what I'm trying to agree with. But if she's not doing her job, if she's not attacking, then I think it's worth it, because you're still doing your job by having the Mach going off. The Mach is always doing your job. Maybe not necessarily as much as your job as you want to, but a lot of your job is in the Mach. So the Mach is still doing quite a bit. If she's, forced to get the hell out because your bear's beating the crap out of her, that's a good thing. I think that's a fair trade to have her do nothing for you to do just your Mach, I will say don't get too tunnel visioned. This should not be allowed. We used our ultimate, I believe, Gauntlets. Spam everything, Slither. Everything should be spam. Okay, he's gone. Don't chase anymore. Let him go. Perfect. Alright. Oh, we have a PK. Okay. Nice job then. Keep chasing. Good choice. Okay, so where is my haste? He's an upset person. Let's see. What do we got on the bear? Bear's dead. Okay, so the bear died against Forsaken earlier. I remember that. And it's on cooldown now. So this is why I think putting everything on the bear is maybe not the best idea. Now your hero is, now you got it back again, but if that happens in a team fight, you are so useless it's not even funny. If that happens right before a team fight, it's over. Like, you pretty much, unless you have another hard carry that's going to, back you up or something, you've pretty much lost the game. And that is one of the reasons why I really don't like putting everything on the bear. I will say it's a similar idea to putting, on a hero. If a hero dies, if he gets caught out of position and dies, then he dies. And, then you're probably fucked either way. So, if you position the bear correctly and all that, I can definitely, I'm on the bear board, the bear train, whatever you want to call it. I'm on board with it. But you do need to be a bit careful. Don't lose the bear here. Where are we going with this bear? We're going to port it. Okay, nice job. Very nice job. I believe isn't it much like a PK? 3 seconds? Maybe it's 5 seconds. I can't remember. Or 2 seconds. There's like a cooldown. If the enemy attacks it, then you can't teleport the bear back. There didn't used to be that, actually. It used to, Wild Soul used to be even more overpowered. You could just, walk the bear up, do whatever you want, and even with the heroes attacking it, you could port the bear back. You could use it to, like, screw up lanes, with the creeps and all kinds of stuff. It was really kind of annoying, but they have since changed that. Now there's a cooldown on it. If you're attacking the bear cannot teleport back to Wild Soul, so that's nice. We still have this health potion. Ironic. We don't have a TP now anymore. You should have rebought a TP. I actually wasn't paying attention if you teleported to this tower or if you teleported to the well, so I'm not going to get mad or anything. If you teleported to the well, you should have rebought a TP. You had the gold, so there's no reason not to. If you teleported to the tower, then it's fine. I will say some people are like, oh, well, it's on cooldown now for a minute, so I don't need to worry about it. Yeah, that's true. You can't use it for a minute, but odds are you're going to, forget or not have another chance to get it in that minute, so you should just, if you're teleporting back to base anyways, just rebuy one just so you don't run into the situation of, oh, well, now I'm farming, right here, and I can't get to the outpost, so what do I do? Well, you should have just bought one when you teleported back, things like that. But it's not a huge deal, especially if you teleported right here, it's totally fine. I wasn't paying attention, so it's okay. Let's see, what do we got on the bear now? I forgot to check. Okay, perfect. So we're going for a demonic breastplate. That's awesome. That should be the next item. That's pretty much the go-to build for Wild Soul. You know, you go Mach, then you go straight to a demonic breastplate. Sometimes people will just get red boots for the bear. Sometimes they'll get phase boots. I usually just get red boots, but phase boots are totally fine. I see the reasoning for it. Don't worry. And you know, then you get your Mach and all that. It's all that good stuff. Then you get a demonic breastplate. Then it kind of branches off into a couple things. You can go for, you know, a whole bunch of things. There, we completed our demonic breastplate, 35 minutes. It's not all that bad. What's our GPM? 350? 400? All right, even better. 400, but now Forsaken's at 565. So we're still a fair bit behind. Kill-wise, we're not a fair bit behind. And even gold to experience-wise, if you look at the numbers, we're actually not that far behind. But we're behind the carry. Your carry is significantly further behind their carry, which is the really big problem. And another thing to note is that you're focusing, you know, for example, those times you're focusing, you know, Berserker in these fights, Berserker can't come even close to outputting as much damage as this Forsaken can at the moment. Forsaken is much more farmed, much more farmed than this Berserker is. At the moment, he does still, don't get me wrong, he puts out enough to make him, like, it's not like a tickle, but it is, I don't think it's enough to, you know, make you worry about him more than Forsaken. You know, that's just me, I guess, I don't know. I will say I absolutely love the, well, I guess, never mind. I was going to say I love putting the demonic on the bear, but if you're going to put the demonic, you have to put all items so that you get more benefit from the mocks, you know, attack damage and all that, and I don't know. So I was getting back to the whole whether or not I like putting items on the bear thing, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Let's see our warding. We got a ward here. Good placements. Unlikely it'll get countered at that point. And you can still see them, for the most part, you can see just about, you know, something like this line. How is he telling me to do that? Something like this. Just about, probably a little bit more. Something like this, maybe, is what you can see with that. So you can just about see into the pit. You can't see into the pit, but just about. We did kill Orange. Orange got killed, rather, sorry, by Pink. What happened? I don't know what happened, considering Pink is all the way up here. I imagine it had something to do with cursed ground, but that's fine either way. I imagine he was just out of position. It happens, I guess. Where was his body? I thought it was right there at that, you know, where the tower was, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see, I do want to briefly comment, since there's not much to talk about for you. You're farming totally fine. You got the ward here, so, okay, so they countered this. They countered this ward. That should be a big thumbs up, that, you know, a big, like, light bulb in your head that they're going to want to try and do Kongor. They know you guys don't have a site around Kongor now, or presumably you wouldn't have one here and, you know, like here or something. So this should be, like, grade A golden, that your team should have definitely noticed that if they countered this, they want to do Kongor. And you notice they already tried to do Kongor, so they definitely wanted to do Kongor. I imagine this is where we're going to lose. Forsaken's just too big. Even you can't beat her now that she has a, you know, I think maybe before this you might have stood a chance at it, but not anymore. It's you can't beat her now that she has the token. It's just not going to happen. Plus she has, you know, a wing bow on top of that now, and it's just, no. So this is going to be GG, and actually looking at the timer, yeah, it is. So they're going to push and end it right here. That's fine. I mean, Forsaken still doesn't have a shrunken head, but you guys don't really have a whole crap load of, like stuns and stuff to lock her down. I will say this is very not smart. There's no reason to go throw your bear away, really. Focusing Forsaken, very nice job. Gauntlet did it. Okay, I was going to say Parasite. Where's Parasite? Did he not? He should have also focused her. If he did, then I just missed it. That's fine. See, but I mean, you guys couldn't even get the token, let alone leave the bear. Leave the bear? No, okay. I was going to say leave the bear chasing Forsaken and you micro out, but it's okay. It was a mistake. You wouldn't have won either way, but I mean, I'm just saying you would have popped the token and maybe had a bit more of a chance, but probably not either way. So that's okay. Let's see, some major mistakes from you. There weren't really many major mistakes. I will say there were a bit of mildly odd choices here and there. For starters, leveling the bear past 2 when you weren't going to push. I see the logic that people say, you know, oh, the bear gets more health, all kinds of things, it can tank better. Yeah, but I think for farming, if I actually crunch the numbers, I'm fairly certain that attunement and wild would be more beneficial than that extra health, and I think it might give you a bit more regen or armor too, but there's that. So I think for farming, I'd have to really crunch the numbers to really tell you, but I'm almost positive that the other 2 skills are more beneficial for farming. Don't get me wrong, the bear I think is more beneficial, definitely for pushing, and maybe even for team fights as well, but because you want the bear to have more health so that he can tank the team fights and things like that. But I think for farming, the other two skills are better. So considering that you weren't really pushing and things like that, you weren't really pushing or team fighting all that much early on, you were probably better off putting more points into Attunement and Wild after level 2 in the Bear. Of course, you definitely want Entangle. There's no argument that even mildly makes sense to not get level 2 in the Bear as fast as you can. But so there's that. The next thing is you missed early on, and this isn't a huge deal, don't get me wrong, you still finished 400 GPM fairly well, all things considered. You missed a fair amount of creep kills in the lane that really you just shouldn't have missed. I think it was a combination of you trying to micro and last hit, and you couldn't pay attention to both, and it got out of hand, and you lost it. That's okay. It happens. Practice makes perfect, you know. You get to it, you practice some more, you practice some more, you practice some more, eventually you'll be able to do it, so don't worry about it. Other than that, the only other really thing I have to comment on is your laning presence was not all that it should be. You really could have zoned Forsaken much better than you did with the Bear. That's the reason why Wild Soul wins lanes so unanimously strong. It's like, if you can control it correctly, it's like having a second hero there with you. It's having a melee and a ranged hero there. Use the ranged hero to farm and have the melee hero go beat the crap out of them because they can't really do anything to the melee hero. The regen is fairly significantly good, and on top of that, who cares if he dies, because you can respawn him. Sorry, I just hit my mic. That was accidental. If it made a big noise, I apologize. The only real other thing I do want to mention is not so much for you, but your team kind of made some fairly large mistakes. They kind of lost bottom to that very odd tri-lane. If you just play a bit more passive against tri-lanes, if they don't have the right tri-lane setup, a lot of the time it fails. Or at the very least, it doesn't do what it should. If 3 of them are down there, and you guys are playing so far passive, you're just getting, some experience, out of range, things like that, they're going to leave. They're going to readjust because they're not, as long as you guys are still getting experience, and they're not getting kills, they're not doing their job. Okay, so the team will readjust if that's the case. If they're not getting kills, they're not doing their job, so they will leave and readjust. But other than that, the only thing I will maybe recommend is potentially skipping the Ghost Marchers. Maybe, do some math, think about it a bit. Think about it a bit more. Maybe the Ghost Marchers wouldn't have been as good as an earlier mock. Think about a mock 1,000 gold sooner. You would have had it, 16, 17, maybe 18, I don't know. But probably 18, actually, something like that, maybe a bit earlier. Which will, in turn, propel your gold per minute that much more and things like that. I can say maybe if you're going to be team fighting a bit more, I can understand getting the boots and then going. What I will say is maybe even if you still want the boots, maybe just get the mock first and then come back for the boots if you're going to passive farm as much as you did in this game. If you're going to be a bit more involved, maybe the boots will be more beneficial, but you were kind of, until you got that mock, you were kind of sitting back doing just farming, which is okay, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but you do need to make some intelligent decisions based off of what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be playing, not based off of what you should be doing. So even if, maybe people will say, oh, well, you should have been fighting in the team fights. Okay, but you weren't. So, and not that there were really team fights early on, but, the ganks and things like that. But you weren't. So why would you level as if you were going to do that when you weren't? You know what I'm saying? So just some stuff to think about. I will say I definitely see your logic in a lot of it. Maybe it's just a bit that I see it a bit more objectively, and I think, well, maybe you don't need to be so precautionary, which I imagine is what you were doing. You were thinking, oh, well, if I need to be in a team fight, if I need to do this, if I do get ganked, I'll need levels in the ultimate, things like that. Maybe if you just worry about, invest 100 gold in that ward by the rune, and you won't have to worry about getting ganked as much. Maybe you don't need the levels in the ultimate then, I'm just trying to jog your thoughts, maybe my logic isn't necessarily more right than yours, but it's certainly another way of thinking that you can think about. So, kind of think about these things. Maybe tell me what you think about it. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're totally right, and you have some brilliant reasoning that I'm missing, things like that. Maybe not. Maybe you're now noticing my reasoning and you're like, oh, well, maybe I'll try that next time. Things like that. So, just stuff to think about. Really, your build was totally fine. We talked about your leveling throughout the skills. So go back and watch the video again if you want to hear about that. That was I think, a bit just wrong. I think there was no reason to get the bear up that high. Some people, again, will say the health is worth it, but I don't think if you're farming, I don't think the health is worth it. So, maybe it increases its damage a bit too or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't think it does it enough that it's worth it. But things like that, I'm just trying to get you to think about the other things you could have been doing. Maybe when you're playing Wild Soul, and especially with these, you really have all the general stuff down, like down. You have, you're 1750, so I would imagine you do, but you're not making mistakes. You're just maybe not optimizing the way to play. Maybe you are. Maybe I'm trying to jog your thoughts just so that you know to think about these things in a game or even after a game when you're looking at it, things like that. But your items are fine. Your build, I will say, we talked about it, so go back and look at it. I think it was wrong, but maybe there is some logic in it. I'm not sure. I mean, build item-wise, sorry, or level-wise, not item-wise, my mistake. Your items are totally fine. I loved your items. The only thing I would have fixed maybe is the ghost marchers on the bear, but other than that, it's totally fine. And even the striders, I don't think it's totally necessary, but I definitely see it, so don't worry. I'm not against them. I just think maybe even without the striders, you could have done okay. So don't worry about that. Your play was really well. You chose to push at correct times. If your team hadn't gotten caught out there in the middle and lost that tower, like if they had stayed alive, you could have pushed, you could have Rax traded, which would have been, I think, would have been a good idea for you guys. Maybe even, what I will say is, it could have been argued that it wouldn't be a good idea to Rax trade only because then you're both getting less gold from the creeps, less golden experience from the creeps, but it's a bigger impact on you guys because you already have less gold. It's the same thing with the percentage-wise that I was trying to explain earlier. If you're getting less gold now, if both of you are getting less golden experience, but the less gold is more of an impact on you, just like the more gold is more of an impact on you because you have less gold to begin with. So just stuff to think about. Maybe it would have been good, maybe not. There are arguments for both sides, and it would come down really situational, and you'd really have to crunch some numbers to really figure it out. So don't worry about it. But yeah, you were fine. I will say you guys didn't really do much team fighting, and the only other thing I really want to comment on is that you kind of focused some weird people in the team fights. You really went for the tanky kind of people just that are right in your face, and that's not necessarily the right thing to do. I know it is hard to get past them, but I mean, position yourself on the sides and wait for them to initiate on somebody else, and then you come in from the sides and kill their carry, things like that. Just kind of think about it at a different angle. Don't try and think about, oh well, what was I going to do? Run past them. Think about how I could have gotten past them without getting hit by 8 crowd control, spells. You know what I'm saying? So you really focusing Lodestone and Berserker really was not the best train of thought. I know what you're trying. I know you thought, oh, it was hard. I wasn't going to get to Forsaken, and Berserker does damage too, but really that Forsaken just got way too big, way too fast. Like, you guys really needed to put a dent in her. She was way too big. But it's okay, I guess. Other than that, there really weren't many mistakes. It was just some fine-tuning here and there that needs to be done a bit. Let's see. We will talk about creep score real quick. Let's do that before we do items. So creep score for everybody. Wild Soul, your creep score is fine. I do think it could have been slightly better, but it's okay. Don't get me wrong. You could have done a little bit better, I think, but that's fine either way. Gauntlet and Slither, I'm going to go ahead and do yours together considering you were against that tri-lane. That's actually an okay creep score to have against the tri-lane. The problem is that you died a lot against the tri-lane. You could have had that creep score without those deaths if you had played way more passively. I wasn't watching. I will say maybe you were playing passively and they were just going balls to the wall and getting lucky or something, but really the way to beat a tri-lane if you're not going to adjust is to just play really passive and try and leech experience and not worry as much about gold, okay? And especially in their tri-lane, okay, fine. Berserker and Lodestone get some gold. Okay. Wild Soul and Gauntlet and Hag and even Parasite and Slither, all these guys, the team you could beat. Berserker isn't the kind of hero that gets so crazy big that he's unbeatable. I mean, at some point, if he got so crazy big in comparison to other people, he would be. But like, even if you had let them get the gold, they had a weird tri-lane, weird setup. They would be gimping themselves on levels, and if you guys were trying to leech experience here and there, I think you guys could have played it better. I wasn't watching, so I'm not going to comment too much on it, but I think there were some mistakes by you guys. I think you could have played it better. So your creep scores are, I'd say, fine. Slither, I would like you to have a bit more. I mean, Gauntlet, that's an okay creep score, and I mean, you actually probably should have had a bit more, but that's an okay creep score, just that you could have had it without all those deaths on top of it. Hag, so I would say you lost mid. You died to, I believe you died to Voodoo, although maybe you died if you ganked bot or something. I wasn't paying attention. So you died a couple times early on, unnecessary. You let him get the runes, which is unnecessary, especially when you take into account that you had a rune ward, so there was absolutely no reason you should have let him get the runes ever. Unless you were like ganking a lane and it spawned on the opposite side or something like that. There was no reason that should be acceptable as a wretched hag to let a voodoo jester get the runes, okay? So that was absolutely unacceptable. Creep score wise is actually not terrible. You could have done better than that. You definitely could have done better than that had you done better mid, but it's not terrible. It's actually okay. And you still beat Voodoo creep score wise. He just did so much more. He was so much more active with ganking and roaming and helping out the other lanes and things like that. Just like a voodoo jester should have been. You were not as active as you should have been. You didn't come top once. Not once did you come top to gank that Forsaken. Actually, I stand corrected. Sorry. You came top once, and and that was the one time that I commented on the bear form thing, and the gank failed, actually. But I think you could have done more had you been getting the runes and things like that. So just pay attention, man. I mean, there's no reason he should have beat you, considering you have a very long-range blink with a very short cooldown. Well, even if you're not putting points into it, it's not a lengthy cooldown, really, but it is... I guess it's enough that, you know... But, I mean, at least pre-6, before you're worried about him maybe potentially killing you if you blink in, and then don't have the blink to get out. At least pre-6, there's no reason he should have been getting the runes over you. Absolutely no reason. So, there's that. Your creep score is actually okay, though. Let's see. Not great, but it's okay. Parasite, you did a really good job. I was actually watching you quite a bit. You did a really good job. And I do want to comment on the items, because anybody who's watching, I'm aware that they were building 3 Hellflowers on this team. I'll comment on it when I get there. Your creep score is okay for Parasite, don't get me wrong. And you were very active ganking and all that stuff, so good job, man. I'm sure you made some mistakes. I didn't notice all of them, so don't worry. I wasn't paying attention. I talked about Slither already. Voodoo, that's a totally fine creep score to have as Voodoo. It's actually very reasonable. 122 at 39 minutes. It's okay. Don't worry about it, man. Totally fine, especially considering how active you were in the ganking area and things like that. Berserker and Lodestone, I'm going to do you because you were the farmers in your lane. You guys it appears to be you were splitting farm because you both went Hatchet Shield, which is stupid. You're lucky that it worked out, because had they played correctly, there's really no reason that this should have worked. Absolutely no reason. Also, there's no reason why you needed to do the lanes like this. Why not send Berserker Empath bottom and then do Lodestone Forsaken top? Lodestone doesn't need the crazy farm to, be useful in team fights and stuff. He can kind of babysit her and do a good job. And then you could have starved Wild Soul a bit more, if not entirely. So there was no reason to do that tri-lane. It was very odd, a very odd tri-lane indeed. It's really weird that you had 2 hatchets, 2 shields. Very odd. By the way, even if you're going to do that and you notice the other person getting hatchet shield, if you have 2 people if you have 3 people, you're probably not going to be taking too much harassment from 2 people, so you probably don't need the shield. Maybe drop the shields if you're going to do that. Or at the very least, one of you notice, hey, maybe we don't need 2 shields. Let's drop it. I mean, I understand both of you were building Helms of the Black Legion, so it's acceptable, but I mean, had you gotten, more stat items and mana pots or whatever, you may have been able to get more kills early on or something like that. I'm not really sure. I wasn't paying attention to bots, so it's just something to think about. Yeah, but your creep scores are, considering the fact that you guys should have potentially had free farm, were fairly pitiful, considering the fact that it's because you guys were splitting the farm, which you shouldn't have been doing, so just something to think about. Forsaken, you did phenomenally. Phenomenal all around. I will say, I probably would have gotten a Shrunken. I think you were a bit ballsy in skipping the Shrunken, my friend, but we'll talk about it when we get to your items. But creep score, totally fine. And then Empath, your creep score should have been a bit more, but it's okay. You were warding, you had plenty of assists, you didn't die too often, you were doing a good job, man, so don't worry about it. Okay, on to items. Let's get this over with. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly notice, we have 3 Hellflowers on the Legion team. 3. So if you've watched any of my replay analyses before, me and Tatty Jangles, we both love Hellflowers. We love them. Hellflower is an amazing item on a number of heroes, okay? We love it. Not 3 of them, though. You do not need 3 for one team. There's a number of reasons why you don't. Not because it's a bad item, but because you need crowd control, especially, and you need more items like that. It gives you the silence, perplex, that kind of stuff, plus the 20% and all that, and the damage and attack speed and all that shenanigans, which is lovely. I'll go ahead and highlight it while we're here, since just over there, and the mana regen too. I forgot about that, but yeah, that's true, and a bit of intelligence. Okay, so it gives you all of that, which is awesome. Okay, but they do not stack. Okay, the use of it doesn't stack. All right, so there's no reason to get 3 of them, okay? Even if you're going to use them on 3 separate people or chain them all on the same person, there's no reason to do that. It lasts 4 seconds. 12 seconds of silence, perplex, leaving a trail behind the target, and plus 20% damage taken. You don't need all that. What I would have loved to see is presumably Parasite, but even Gauntlet or Hag could have done this. Probably Hag, actually, since she wasn't doing very well. She should have gone for more just straight stunning and crowd control items as opposed to the Hellflower. I would have loved to see somebody, especially, and like I said, Hag should be the one to do it, I think. Get a sheep stick. With that much gold, 47.25, you're already very close to a sheep stick. Save up a bit more and get a sheep stick instead. I think Gauntlet should have definitely gone. You know what? I will say 2 Hellflowers is okay. I still think only 1 is necessary, but I'm not saying 3 Hellflowers is bad, just that you could do better, okay? As long as you use them properly, it's still not bad, but you could do better, I think. So I would have loved to see a sheep stick, or even if you don't want to get a sheep stick, you can get a Tablet of Command and a Storm Spirit for about the same cost. It's not the same cost. It is more, but it's close. You're getting close. I think it's just about $5,000, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Storm Spirit's just about 3, but I could be wrong. I think it's about $3,000, 3,200, something like that. Maybe I'm mistaken, and maybe it's $6,000 for them. But either way, it gives you more crowd control, more utility than this gives. I think, especially considering how far behind Hag was. She wasn't really. Don't get me wrong. She didn't do terrible, but she wasn't really doing great either. So, I've talked about it before. If you're not fulfilling your role to an extent that you are adequate, at least, then maybe, change and start supporting the people who are fulfilling their role. So in this case, it would be Parasite and Wild Soul. If you being Gauntlet and Hag are not doing that good, don't worry about trying to do that good. I still like the PK on Gauntlet, but, get some crowd control items and healing items and items that'll help Wild Soul and Parasite do their jobs instead, okay? So it's just stuff to think about. I love the PK still on Gauntlet. That's totally fine. I think Gauntlet, you should have gotten a Helm of the Black Legion, man. You were dying enough that you kind of needed it, so I think that was a mistake on your part by not getting it, especially since you got a Chalice. The Helm of the Black Legion, I like it because, even if you mess up with the timing on the Chalice, you can still regen it back up, so it's fine. But yeah, I would have liked to see, at least on Gauntlet, you didn't even complete the Hellflower in 40 minutes, so you definitely shouldn't have been getting a Hellflower. 200 GPM is not enough to, warrant getting that. Get smaller items so that you can be more useful, you should have gotten a tablet, would have been totally fine, especially since Forsaken had a slow. Usually when enemy teams have a perma slow or something along those lines that doesn't root you, although rooting can be fine too, but usually if it's something that you just can't get away from, the tablet's really nice. A Devour, Decay, things like that, tablet's really nice for. But not that it's not nice for stuns or roots or things like that, because it is nice for that too. Just saying that is exceptionally nice for, because then you can get away. So there you go. But yeah, a tablet would have been fine, a Storm Spirit would have been fine, a Void Talisman would have been fine, since they have a lot of physical damage. If you think you're dying too much, you want to do a Void Talisman instead, that's fine too. There are a whole bunch of other routes you could have gone that don't involve getting another Hellflower when you notice your team has 2 already, okay? Hag, I already talked about you. I would have liked to see a Storm Spirit, no, not a Storm Spirit, sorry, a Culdra Sheepstick on there. Sheepstick would have been fine. Other than that, the rest of your items, I actually like the rest of them. Even if you wanted to go Storm Spirit instead, you go Storm Spirit, and then a few other things. It could consist of a number of things, so don't worry about. Think about what you could have got. You could have started working towards a Frostfield plate, or a Void Talisman if that's one, or all kinds of things. I will say that Gauntlet, you definitely should have had Vestments. I missed that, sorry people. Vestments for the whole team. These guys have enough magic damage, just with Voodoo, but with all of them really. Just with Voodoo, it's enough magic damage to warrant Vestments for everybody. So no Vestments here, this is very foolish. Empath, that's probably why you had 8 deaths. Very foolish not to have Vestments. Even Parasite, although Parasite is a bit less necessary because he can jump into creeps if he gets in trouble, as long as he's not stun locked, of course. But Vestments, I like it. Hag, you got Vestments, but these 3 I think definitely should have had Vestments. Let's see, Parasite's items. So I actually like your items. It's totally fine. I like the PK. The Hellflower, I will say again, I think you should have been the one to get it. So that's fine, actually. I'll say you should have been the one out of the 3 of you to get it. The Blood Chalice, totally cool. And then a Codex. I don't know what level the Codex was. I presume it was only level 1, based off of your GPM and how long the game was and the items you finished. I'm assuming it was level 1, which is awesome. I really don't like going Prodex. Prodex is a level 5 Codex for anybody who doesn't know. It's a very big investment for not a lot of extra benefit for the extra $4,000 you're investing. Is it yeah, it's $4,000. Yeah, okay. So yeah. And Slither, the only thing I would have correction is that you need Vestments, man. You really needed those Vestments. And on top of that, I'm not sure this was the best item. You could have gotten a tablet for this cost and still had some extra left over. I'm not sure this was really the best item. Not that Gnomes is a bad item. Don't get me wrong. I love Gnomes. Just that I think this probably would have been better off being a tablet, but it's not wrong either way. Don't get me wrong; it's still helpful. You really need investments, man. You absolutely need investments. Or actually, you know what? If this could have been a Astrolabe too, that would have been great, because an Astrolabe would give you a bit of survivability with not only the heal, but on top of that, the Fortified Bracer, is built into it, things like that. So I mean, that's the kind of, you were dying, so that's the kind of thought process you should have. It should help the team. The items you get should help the team as a support, but they should also help you. They should also be the items that are most beneficial to you too, usually. Not always, but usually. Let's see, Voodoo Jester. I like all of your items. I will say I don't think the Staff of the Master is necessary on Voodoo Jester. I probably would have gone for like a Sheep Stick in that case. I mean, maybe a Sheep Stick, maybe even a Hellflower. You guys didn't have one, so maybe a Hellflower, maybe a Storm Spirit, maybe Tablet, maybe, you know, all kinds of items. I probably would have gone Sheep Stick, though. But yeah, I don't think it's not wrong. I know, if you're having a good time with your ultimate, don't get me wrong. If you're getting off a whole bunch of full ultimates then or long duration ultimates, which you were, because these guys really don't have that many stuns or you know, abilities that can stop you. But that's fine, I guess. It's not crazy wrong. I just don't think it's necessarily the best you could have been. Berserker, let's see, your items are actually totally fine. It looks like you're going for a Behemoth's Heart. I probably would not have gone Behemoth's Heart. I probably would have gone Demonic at this point. You definitely, like with 1100, you could have gotten the 2 armor pieces for the Soul's Bulwark, and at least gotten that since you guys didn't have one, so that was really nice. That would have been really nice, sorry, but you didn't. It's not wrong, I just think it's not quite as good as... It's not a wrong item on Berserker. Eventually, a heart is nice. I just don't think that should have been your next item. Lodestone. So, yeah, okay, all of your items are totally fine. I love every one of them. I don't know the order of them, but that's fine. Yeah, I do want to say this team has a lot of magic damage as well, especially once you've taken the Mock as well, so probably everybody on this team should have had vestments. Yeah, probably everybody. The only ones that might be slightly acceptable are like Berserker and Load, but even them should have had vestments too, so I will say, you know, everybody in this game should have had vestments, probably. You know, so, I mean, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Voodoo, you should have had them, sorry, I missed that, and probably Berserker as well, unless you've sold them at some point, but really there's no reason to sell them for the item slot if you still have this. Drop the hatchet before you sell your vestments, buddy. Other than that, though, yeah, and, you know, even Forsaken didn't even get vestments, and she skipped the Shrunken. I think this Forsaken was pretty ballsy. I don't know, maybe she figured, you know, she wasn't getting focused and dying, so it's fine, and that's a okay thought process, but, you know, if they do turn and focus on you, at the end there, if you saw how quickly she dropped, she had a token, so at the end it wouldn't have mattered, but if that had happened earlier, Forsaken dying in those fights is not a good thing, so it's just something to think about, Forsaken, but we'll talk about it in a sec. But yeah, I love your items, man. You even got vestments. I love all of them, so don't worry. Forsaken, I love your items. I talked about, I think you should have had a Shrunken in there. I think you're pretty ballsy for skipping the Shrunken and going straight to, you know, Frostwolf and Wingbow. Usually Shrunken is okay to get as your second major item, usually. Not in every case, but usually it's okay to do it that way. And that would have been fine in this case, but I think you got pretty ballsy just going straight for like pure damage like that. I mean, you have a bit of survivability with the Geos and then the slow from the slow and attack speed slow from the Frostwolf. So I'm not saying it's pure attack, and of course, you know, then the Energizer, but I mean and the evasion from Wingbow, I guess. But you do have a lot of like damage based as opposed to survive. I think you got a bit ballsy there, but it did work out, so I'm not going to comment on it too much. I think you just got kind of lucky that you were so far, well, not luck, I guess. You were pretty far ahead, so I can understand it then if you're like, oh, I'm so far ahead, they're not even going to kill me. I mean, I don't know if that's the way to necessarily think, but you were pretty far ahead, so it's okay. And then Empath, I love your items. They're absolutely flawless, so change nothing, my friend. Okay, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you learned something. I hope it was helpful. If anybody has any questions, especially Dobrev here, but anybody for that matter, feel free to post below in the comments or wherever it is in the future, I guess, or in my inbox, or on the thread, or wherever you so desire, and I will get back to them as soon as I can, I guess. But once again, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Elfis out. GG.